From the 9th of the 2nd month of 1444, Gatekeepers spread. 2 of oysters, binds from are for infinity. King of peppermills is not as sympathetic as he thinks in holding back the disciplinary. 3 of peppermills reversed distinctly shows what was accomplished on the way to discovery. 2 of peppermills reversed uniquely is suited to deal with unpredictability. Knight of peppermills reversed is stern in the face of working through a mystery. 9 of hats reversed finds satisfaction in the placing. Abilities of the high priest, this reversed, are diminished by a lack of believing in the sides of herself. Away from what is done, the 7 of oysters is progressing. 8 of flamingos will not give in to censoring or the taking over of her possession. And what are your initial thoughts on these cards?
It's pretty wild what you just said, because I was thinking, the tasty fruit, the reward or whatever comes at the end of a long hard path. But what one person considers a nice reward or a nice whatever may be trash to another person.
Like even the people that's like, oh no, don't wish peace on me, don't you dare wish peace on me. But actually that's probably just what's best. But sure you want to continue making effort and stuff in life, but
yeah, right. But yeah, and
and even though he's the forceful guy, look at this dude. So the where's the king? The king of peppermills is not as sympathetic as he thinks in holding back the disciplinary. Because a lot of people, it's like, I didn't do what I should not have done. Give me all this credit. It's like, yeah, that's true and that's good, but it's not really as great as you can as you say it is sometimes, But yeah, the Crowley card really shows that this is the thing of will, but he's mastered over it anyways. And of course, maybe we're thinking will, because you think of will and you have emotions, and then you have the thoughts, and then you have the feelings, to give the cards something. And so what, I only have one feeling card here. The 9 of hats reversed finds satisfaction in the placing. So I'm reminded, because I'm reminded that story. In the Quran, it talks about how the first brothers killed one killed the other, and then a crow shows up scratching the earth, and he's like, "That's what I'll do. I'll bury my dead brother in the ground." And then the guy's like, realizes, okay, even the animal knew better than me when the situation. So but it's the happiness card.
Yeah,
I don't know, something Edgar Allan Poe, but I can't think of it. And I don't mean both the Raven Nevermore, but something other than that, right?
I was thinking crow. My mind's off today. I was thinking the crow,
Oh, it's supposed to be a crow.
pigeon,
I forget which one's which sometimes.
blackbird.
The
Don't
two of
quote me.
the two of Peppermell's reversed uniquely is suited to deal with unpredictability. And oh, he looks all Shakespearean, right? Like the guy with the skull, but this guy doesn't have a skull.
Mm.
So it's dominion, dominion over life and death. Oh, the drink is red. So it could be sort of a wine situation. The redness and the force.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And
it's amazing how much people wish for control and such things like that. But I mean, control to a point and over maybe a certain set thing, but total control and all that, no.
and this one,
Which that would be getting into a deep thought. So I better not do that.
the two of oysters binds from or for infinity. Kind of like the Second Amendment, the Second Amendment right, the Establishment Clause, not for or not for against. So whether you want to pick one, oh, I forget. You know what I mean? Shall not establish or prevent a religion, basically.
Right.
But some things like healing, like if there's a healing verse out there, well, if you don't take its guidance, it's a harmful verse to you. But if you expose to it and you accept its healing lesson, then it's a healing verse. So much of life is for or against you, and it's like totally up to you. Like these people's like, if their idea of the afterlife, it's not one deed. It's not one deed. It's a whole lifetime of what choosing stuff. It's because people like, how can it's like they're like, how can one possibly be judged on one lifetime on multiple? You had multiple chances. No gets chances probably.
Yeah.
And the idea what?
It's never too late. I'm grateful for, it's never too late to start building something now for, in the time to come. Yeah, I'm grateful for that. There's a second chance. And,
well, I guess this is the most negative card that we have left here. The
which actually sometimes negative is good.
Yeah, negative eight of flamingos will not give in to censoring or the taking over of her position. And that's definitely something we all need to learn too with the censorship culture and stuff like this. Because somebody today was saying something, typing something to me, and they said something along the lines of, you got to consider if this many people have decided to hate you, maybe you shouldn't if you consider whether you're on the right path or not. It's like yeah, I've considered whether I'm on the right path, but I'm not whether I'm popular or not with these people. That has no bearing on whether I'm going to, it's not the same thing as having empathy.
Yeah, the way I see it,
just be all sociopathic and it's like, oh, they don't like me, so I must change my life. It's like, no.
The way I see things sometimes is,
but sometimes you just stand your ground for a little bit, and you're even in a better position with the crowd. I'm sorry, what? Oh, you froze.
Maybe there's truth and purity in it.
I didn't hear what you said. The screen froze, and you didn't. I didn't hear what you said.
You froze for just a second.
Oh, and there's a mountain. See, okay, so if she gets through the trial, she reaches her achievement. That was just buried in the card. I didn't notice it. Away from what is done, the Seven of Oysters is progressing. Because remember, the 8 is the prudence card. So the 8 is the prudence card. So this guy is working on things. Of course, the 7 Oh, so the external and the internal. See, he's got 7 on him and 7 outside.
Mhm.
The high priestess abilities of the high priestess reversed are established by a lack of believing in the sides of herself. And of course, yeah, if you don't believe in yourself enough, then you're fraught with troubles on all sides, right? But
Yeah,
what is the high
definitely.
priestess card? So you got the Baz and the Yekyin, to use the biblical word. And of course, J is not part of that language, but we use J. So when they draw Solomon's temple, they have a B and a J, and sometimes they have a W, which represents wisdom. So they have a middle pillar, or they have some other stuff.
Belief is a lot, including belief in myself.
So the B, see, is so this is open. This is open towards the west, I guess. And so the B would be in the north. The Y would be in the south. But you typically see like multiple traditions represented. You have a cross, a crescent, and a star, or a cross, a book, and a crescent, or whatever. But you can think of this in broader terms than that. Instead of specific traditions, you can think of the esoteric, the exoteric, and the ethnic. So there's those 3 approaches to religion or spirituality that a person can look at. And I notice I'm a touch off center today. For some reason, it's not putting me in the middle as much as usual. Okay. Okay. The Knight of Peppermills reversed is stern in the face of working through a mystery.
Working through a mystery.
You know, the Crowley deck kind of mixes the knights and the kings together. You wanted the king to continue to be active, pushing on forward. So the knight cards in your typical deck remind you more of that. But the knight's further up because you have the page and then the knight. But then again, you could say the princess and the prince, well, they become a king and a queen. But his helmet's almost too much for him, right?
Right.
And he has
Like
lobsters on himself. So
really
he's like a mercenary. So he's not quite in it for itself or because it's the right thing. He's like, look at what I can gain.
Yeah, I was going to say, look what I can do. Look what I can appear to be as.
Of course, now the lobster wasn't quite the treat for the rich. It was something brought across the coast, and sometimes it was bad, and they would give it to prisoners because it was like it was like practically field fertilizer. With a bunch of wash. Okay, and the 3 of Peppermills reversed distinctly shows what was accomplished on the way to discovery. And so she's like, so it's the work card. Oh, wait, no, it's not the work card. What is the 3? Let's see. Triple effort, but there's like something to engage in. But it's a balcony. It's a balcony. So I guess I see. So you don't know whether it's a good card. Because if there's this effort to go out on the balcony, well, are they just going out of the balcony, or is people going to fall off the edge or whatever? What's that guy? One of those one of those comedians that went too far? Whitest Kid You Know? The one guy was drunk and he fell off his
What?
Yeah, the guy fell off his balcony because he was too drunk.
Oh,
So that's what I think about, using your effort to guide people off the balcony.
mhm.
Kind of like what the Native American tribes did with the
Mhm.
you know what I mean, because they had they chased the animals
Right.
into traps and off of cliffs and stuff like this, and they would eat some of them, but that was actually not the best plan. People say, oh, the Native Americans were perfect for the environment, all this. Actually, no, they weren't.
Mhm.
But sometimes what's necessary is what's necessary. So
I,
so I'm
I was
sorting things. So
thinking,
if you think of something and I try to find a card,
mhm.
because as I said, we can talk about any of the cards as they come up here. And this deck, I don't know, they have 79 they have 80 cards. So they have these 2 extra cards. And so you have the different oaths. You have your typical oath, and then you have the oath with the left hand, with the square of the compass sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, they're like reversed. Like one is wrote to regular and one card is reversed.
And
That's
the
interesting about this is there's 80 cards also.
and the smile kind of tilts its way on through there. Because the compass and the square represent the the here and now and the greater picture.
Yeah.
And
To
and you notice how that
random.
the face of that thing was kind of twisted over here a bit. And remember, okay, we got the peppermills instead of clubs. We have the hats instead of hearts. Instead of spades, we have flamingos. I've never seen a flamingo attack anyone, I don't think. I think they kind of reserve to what they're going to do, but I guess that would make as much sense as any. I mean, you could put the
Come
cards.
to think of it, I've never heard of it. Right. I've never
The
heard
card
of a flamingo. Baby. I've never heard of a flamingo having rabies. Have you?
and one of the things with
Rabies
some of these
animal
cards
would.
is it's like they have different names. So why not give them the different names? Because having a couple brothers on the lovers card, that's just as cringy.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, just a little bit cringy. What were they thinking when they drew that?
Well, the Castro and Pollocks. I mean, Crowley had both themes working. Okay, the sun.
Right.
He's going to become Eggyokyo. Remember the star. The star doesn't really capture what goes out, something else comes in, sort of thing.
Very interesting card.
The chariot, it's a vehicle, but you don't really get that idea, although she's going somewhere. She's going somewhere. That's about all you get from the chariot card in that consideration. I don't remember the story. You remember the story of why the eagle and the Tweedle brothers?
Not right off. For some reason, it's coming to mind about when I think of a chariot, I'm thinking of Cinderella, the pumpkin. At midnight, her coach turned back into a pumpkin that she rode to the ball in. The story Cinderella. So maybe traveling in fruit may not be a good idea.
And so this thing
These,
right
you know,
here,
fairy
this
tales have really strange meanings.
yeah, well that's the whole thing. They attached all this stuff, so it's kind of good sometimes when this stuff is in tarot decks that they have a tarot deck rather than just this stuff where it's like, I don't know if there was ever a
Yeah.
90210 or some other show like that tarot deck. I mean, they might be able to make it sense in their deck, but a lot of decks are just art decks that don't really go anywhere. This
Mhm.
full card, your typical full, this guy is like the full. He could fall off the ridge or something because he just doesn't know. But your typical full would be somebody who is a bit more aware of the whole thing. We haven't talked about the magician recently. So it's like there's all the tools, all the tools of the elements, but there's something more, right? That's what you kind of get with the wreaths and some of the other stuff is there's, you know, the spirit thing. Sometimes you would have a representation of all the cards. Like the Crowley deck, there's supposed to be all the planetary attributes and the all that for the cards, you know, fire, air, earth, and water, sun,
Yeah.
moon,
Or air.
Mercury, Venus.
A lot of activity. With the magician, I feel a lot of things, like a lot of just air, a lot of activity, a lot of movement and motion.
Oh, the Empress. Okay, the Empress is
Physical element.
the Empress is the granny card. You had to you said your one deck was like probably a 10 of cups or something like that was a grandmother card. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah. Yes, and that's so awesome because I just literally have that deck. I literally have that deck. You just mentioned that, and it is the Smith Waite Tarot, but
And
in this
the emperor
particular
here is like
centennial
the emperor here is like the absentee father, only around
edition.
when it's convenient for him.
Mm-hmm. Absentee daddy.
Yeah, not something to look up for. I think I was talking earlier. This person, you know, they're claiming I'm a male in my brain, and well, so is that why you figure your health doesn't matter? The health of your child you're supposed to be having, if that's really what's going on. I don't know what the lesson of this guy with the bong is, other than he's like one of those guide spirits, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense of him as a hierophant. Yeah, okay. So I'm sorting things, so feel free to
Oh, it's okay.
keep going in
My
any comment
sound
that
cut
you
out
want.
there.
So there's a
Looking
7
through my
here.
cards here, and there's the devil on top of the deck there, and just casually looking to see
Oh, and the
what
chariot
catches
here.
my
Not the chariot, the moon.
guess.
I guess the moon is a card where you have where you have the wolves. The wolves communicate. Because you know it's like if you've seen wolves and coyotes and all that stuff, they communicate, and then all of a sudden you have like 10 of them, and you're like, oh no. Because what these things going to do?
Like they communicate before they come together. You know, they communicate without sound.
Oh, and the judgment's like that guy with his cooking contest. I never watched this. A lot of these things I just never watched the shows, so I don't know quite what's going on entirely with all these things. But the judgment card, you know, they're judging the food. So they're eating those tarts, and the devil's kind of a cool, weird, sort of curious creature that's all bent over backwards, kind of horned and funny looking. But the overwhelmed, but then again, still standing, able to make one's own choice, hopefully. The temperance card does kind of capture some of that ascent stuff, some of that decent, but you got to think of it. Of course, that's the whole point too, right? And it's not about loss and gain, I don't think. But if one looks beyond that stuff going on, oh, the strength card's an interesting one. Because remember, I was telling you that in the Bible, there's that verse in the Psalms that's like, please God, protect me from the unicorns and the lions. I totally understand the lions, but and that's not what they mean by unicorns. It's not the cute horse thing. The hanged man, well, self-sacrifice is supposed to change you. It's not just some S&M thing, as much as that disappoints some people. And the hermit, the hermit, well, I guess you could have a turtle too. So you go into the shell and it's your own world, but then you go out and, you know, you have to do things in its way, which is the light. Because that's one of the things, like in spiritual experiences too, you gotta sometimes, oh, you got the justice. So sometimes things are a careful balance. But you got, you know, each plane has its rules going on. On the tower card, I mean the world card, so everything's stratified. Remember in the Crowley deck, you have that little thing that's like a chart of the elements known at this particular time. It's like this house thing, but it's this weird little chart that's supposed to be the elements. So here you have these grids too. So you have these grids of this order. So things are completed and they're in order, but you know, it's time to start again, right? And the tower card, you're not the only, so when things are taken down a notch, others can go with you. So that lizard's going with the rabbit. Although lizards can be a lot less problematic than.
Lizards rejuvenate themselves too, don't they? They can rejuvenate.
Okay, and the Wheel of Fortune, which is the last one. So you have these different birds, these different animals, they represent something, I guess. The dodo bird, they always have the dodo birds doing something stupid and unrealistic as far as a dodo bird on the cartoons. So it makes you forget what a dodo bird is like, because they have it all in a cane, hobbling around like it's stupid and it doesn't know how to do whatever. But it obviously would have. The mouse is probably the lowest of the food chain, but maybe the groundhog, because the groundhog's pretty vulnerable too. The mouse can kind of not get caught in some cases. The falcon and the owl can take out the mouse.
Right.
But the falcon more rises above, sort of a creature of day, and the other is a creature of night. And
it was interesting the year I had a little owl family in a tree in my front yard. It was 2020. And a big owl, a medium-sized owl, and a smaller owl. They were lived in the big tree out there. So they would coo at night. And it was kind of spooky, but beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, I don't mind some of these nature sounds. It's the people. It's the people and their music so loud that their machines understand it. And
the people and their machines of
oh yeah, the machines, yeah. So I lose so much sleep because of those machines. I can't just go back to sleep at sunrise after I've done my morning rituals and reading and stuff. I have to wait until things quiet down with machines so many days. And then people then people are like, well, I would have preferred to go straight back to sleep, but I had to deal with 3 neighbors that did yard work.
Yeah.
Which at least I'm given the opportunity, right, to do those things otherwise. Okay. So which suit do you want to do? The wands, the cups, the swords, or the discs?
One.
Okay.
Seems like ones or yeah, a little bit of a problem.
Oh, we're under 10 minutes here, so let me sort these a little bit here. Number 5 is, of course, the fighting card. Mars, it's in the sphere of Mars, so that makes sense.
My battery light is blinking. Oh, goodness. Maybe I can get it charged at before.
Oh, you left. Okay. Are you still here? Okay, I'm just going to show all the cards, I think. Oh, here's Mr. Griffin again that we saw on the star card, or maybe it's a different Griffin. And griffins were not created to be alone. No creature was. So how does creation pair itself? I don't know. And we have the hats. Are hats necessary, or are they? Well, I guess when you had no sunscreen and you might have had to hide something in your hat and, you know, all sorts of stuff. Hats were definitely a useful thing going on. Green card. The Quest for the Holy Grail card. On the Verge of Suffering card. Quoth the Raven Nevermore. And we have these swords here. The Holy Flamingo. He's a victorious flamingo too. The Peace of the Altered State. Comforting the poor flamingo that was beat down by the other queen. Don't play games that hurt animals. You know, what's wrong with you, Mrs. Other Queen? The Prudence was mentioned. Oh, chocolate cake. Is this the child? Oh no, it's the cups. That's the childhood memories, right? But 6 is on the same sphere. It's the sphere of the sun, the sphere of marriage and pilgrimage and all that stuff, being liberated in an outward sense. But of course, you got to have your work on your inner sense at any time here. The Ace of, got a couple cards that have that Shakespeare sort of thing going on. And